Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 74. And now that chapter 74 is done in the books and we've had an opportunity to read the chapter, there's quite a bit to actually go over on this one. So wasting no time, let's get right into the chapter review and recap itself. So diving right into it, the first thing we need to definitely acknowledge is the fact that like Daemon is strong. Like we knew Daemon was strong, but the idea of seeing him body Boruto and Kawaki as easy as he was, even after Ada confirmed for us in the last chapter that Daemon is more than powerful enough to take on somebody like Kawaki, seeing it for yourself and how even Kawaki's trump card had nothing on somebody like Daemon, that's actually good, and I'll get into why later on in the chapter review. The same with learning more about how Ada's abilities do require eye contact like we speculated, and the fact that there are a couple of characters who have not been placed under her enchantment / control powers. I think that's going to be an important plot point moving forward. Now, getting into how the chapter opens up. The chapter opens up with Daemon and Ada stepping off of the train, and Daemon is just having the time of his life. The kid's just shouting, smiling. The guy looks like he's ready for all kinds of mischief. You have Shikamaru meeting them there at the train station, and Shikamaru is just coming out very formal. And Shikamaru's like, yeah, it's nice to have you here in Konoha, Ada. Sai is looking at her. Sai is immediately just blushing, head over heels for Ada. Somewhere Ino's probably punching the air somewhere. And Ada just looks over at Shikamaru and she says like, dude, cut the crap. I already know what your plans are. And I like the fact that Ada just went right for that and just kind of showed like, I know we're in a chess match right now and I'm not going to let you throw me off of my game. And I'm going to figure out what it is that you're trying to do as well. They both have their motives, and I like that it's not just Shikamaru having the mental games going on with Amado, but also you have the mental games going on with Ada. And you see the difference between Shikamaru and Sai, whereas Shikamaru is keeping business first, Sai is just simping over her. And I thought that that was kind of nice to see that, especially when you look at how stiff Sai was when he first got introduced to us in the series, and that's mainly because of the brainwashing that Danzo did for him when Danzo was en route. Now, I like how Ada, after she calls out Shikamaru, she says like, that room sharing idea you had, I'm gonna accept it because I think that is something that works for all of us. And as Shikamaru and Ada are kind of going back and forth, Daemon is just staring at Shikamaru. And what I like about Daemon is that every time this dude's just giving people that stare, because you know how strong he is, you know he's just looking at it like, I can't wait to crush somebody's neck. And what I like about this is that Shikamaru immediately puts 2 and 2 together. He's like, okay, so that's Daemon, that's gonna be Ada's sibling. And when you got Sai trying to be extra smooth with Ada, like, hey, you must be tired after that long trip, allow me to take you to your apartment. You know, Sai was thinking, I'm about to draw one of those ink birds and I'm gonna take this girl on a magic carpet ride. Ada's like, dude, I don't need your ink birds or nothing you're planning on. Ada just begins to start levitating right in front of them, and everybody's just looking at Ada as this is going on. And Sai, that's when, out of everything that Sai has seen and everything he knows about Ada, Sai, he stops blushing right there. He's like, wait a second, I'm drawing the line that this girl can fly. And what I like about this is that Daemon reveals that Ada doesn't like to stand out, even though ironically she's the one that is flying above everybody, drawing attention. But essentially Daemon says that they're going to fly through the air. Ada reveals that they'll get there first because she already knows where the apartment is. And as she begins to start flying through the air, Shikamaru has this really anxious look on his face. face. And you can tell out of everything Shikamaru planned for, this was not something he was thinking about. And I like how this was a little bit of a flex on Ada's part, because what this does is Ada lets him know, like, I already know your plans, but there's a lot you don't know about me. And I like how she just flexed very casually right there, just to kind of let him know whatever it is you're planning, it's not going to work. So I thought it was cool to see that. And we then see Amado step up, and Amado has that cigarette in his mouth. He's smoking, and he says, like, hey, what you're seeing is not that unusual. Like, for instance, when Otsutsuki use it, they're just naturally able to fly. It's only a matter of time before Boruto and Kawaki start zipping around here as well. You might as well prepare yourself for seeing that. And that's when Shikamaru says, like, you and I, we need to talk. And then you just see Amado and Shikamaru just staring down each other. You got that very evil kanji surrounding the two as this is going on, kind of letting you know, like, something's coming here. I think that we're going to get that Amado reveal sometime in this current manga volume that we're in. And the way that they're building Amado up right here to where it's not only Shikamaru playing chess with Ada, but he's also playing chess with Amado, that's going to make or break the tension for this, because Amado does have quite a bit to answer for. And at the end of the chapter, Naruto just outright tells him, enough with the games, no more secrets. You're telling me everything I want to know the answers for. Naruto has said in the past he doesn't trust Amado, and right now he's telling Amado to spill everything. Now the chapter then shifts over to the apartment where you have Boruto and Team 7 and Konoha. They're all standing around in the living room. You have Sarada and Mitsuki there in another apartment keeping eyes on everything, but Konoha is standing there with Boruto and Kawaki, and essentially Boruto's like, man, you know, this is a pretty cool apartment right here. And Konoha reveals this did belong to another tenant, but we essentially had to just move them out of the way. And so somewhere someone is getting really pissed off that they're paying exorbitantly high prices because Konoha got military budget problems. So chances are Konoha probably got inflation like us. They're paying all this money for this apartment and they can't even live in it. And so when Boruto's sitting there like, man, you know, this, we're gonna be living good for a second, Kawaki's like, why are you getting so happy? And Boruto says, dude, we have to stay here. That's part of our mission. We don't need to be fighting over every single little thing. Might as well enjoy it while we're here. And so you see how Kawaki and Boruto are just kind of going back and forth and bickering. And when Kawaki's staring down at Boruto, I like how it gets the flashback to what Kawaki saw when Momoshiki was right behind Boruto, breathing down his neck. And essentially that's letting us know that, like, Kawaki, he's looking at Boruto and the guy's on edge right now because it looks like he hasn't revealed to Boruto that he's actually seen Momoshiki and knows what's going on. And it kind of feeds into that tension because Kawaki knows that when you get brought back from death from karma, it had to have come at some kind of a cost. Kawaki is the one that has the most reason to be the most suspicious about anything karma related. And so I do think this is going to be something we have to keep our eyes on moving forward because Kawaki, the man, is not happy right now. Now, the other thing about that is that you also have to take into account, usually when people are mad at you, they're not necessarily mad at you, but they're mad about something else and they're redirecting their anger at you. And I think with Kawaki, this is a similar thing here. Now, the scene then shifts over to the other apartment where it's styled in a similar way of what the one that Boruto and Kawaki have. However, in this moment, you have Mitsuki and you have Sarada. And so essentially Sarada is breaking down everything, saying that we have a good view of them from this apartment, so we'll be able to monitor everything. And Mitsuki and Sarada are talking about the fact that they need to use this as an opportunity to gather intel and kind of be on guard, and about how Shikamaru has this giant plan for everything. And Sarada's sixth sense is starting to kind of get onto her. She knows that something isn't right. And that's when Team 10 shows up. So everybody who wanted to see more of the other characters in Boruto's generation, congratulations, they're here in the chapter. And essentially Chocho comes in here, and Chocho is like how she was in Naruto Gaiden, where she's hopelessly delusional because she comes in, she's like, yeah, I heard that there's this super hot woman who's coming after Kawaki. We're gonna be love rivals. She ain't getting none of my Kawaki-chan. And what I like here is that Sarada just makes this face. Sarada's like, is this bitch serious right now? And even Anojin has the gall to say, bitch, are you serious? Like, I love that little dialogue right there. And I like how Chocho basically calls him an asshole for this. And so Sarada breaks up the fighting for a moment, and that's when Mitsuki says, like, dude, Sarada, she's here. And when Sarada looks around, she looks at the balcony and she sees Ada and Daemon floating down and landing, and Chocho's like, oh my god, she is so beautiful. And Sarada's looking at it more so like, holy shit, this woman can fly. Now the shot itself is very fan servicey. You see Ada's legs, you see some some of Ada's booty. Now, I'm a leg person and a breast person, so I mean, I'm all for that one. I don't really care for the booty, but dude, you can tell on this one, Ikimoto did that one on purpose. I mean, it's a shonen, fan service is gonna happen. Ada lands down on her heels. Team 10 and Team 7, they're looking on. Ada is shown getting up from a crouching position. However, Ada doesn't have her Semigon eyes cut on, but when she looks over at the kids that are on the balcony, immediately you see Chocho and Nojin, they're blushing. And as this happens, you have Sarada and Shikadai looking at Chocho and Nojin, which is why they were able to avoid being placed under Ada's control. Now, Inojin, the guy's like, oh my God, my heart's messing up. Chocho, all of a sudden, Chocho's panties are getting wet. She was thinking about that Kawaki Waki. So all of a sudden, she want to see if Ada got that WAP. Shikadai confirms that they didn't see her face because she says he couldn't clearly see her face. So that confirms that Ada's dojutsu powers and her powers of control and enchantment, it requires eye contact. Now, once she makes eye contact with you, you're basically hers. Now, the next thing we see here is that Sarada's like, okay, we need to report to Boruto and the others that Ada's outside the balcony, but Mitsuki is staring off into space. The guy's like, I can't believe what I'm feeling right now. And in that moment, Mitsuki went through puberty and had his very first wet dream. But essentially, Mitsuki has fallen under it. So we can also write off the whole thing of people saying like, oh, Mitsuki should be immune to Ada's powers because Mitsuki probably has some Otsuki genetics. We can kill that whole thing that Orochimaru messed with Mitsuki's body and had those Teneri stuff because his Sage mode has that chakra ore that's very similar to the Tensegan chakra mode. We can kill that now. That's been taken care of. Now, the next thing we see here is that Daemon and Ada, they turn away from the kids on the balcony because at the end of the day, they're not anything that they're worried about. Now, once this is done, the scene shifts over again and we have Konohamaru and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to my post. You guys just stay here. Sensory team will be in contact with you guys. We'll be able to communicate. Everything's gonna be cool. And as Konohamaru starts going up the stairs, all of a sudden, Konohamaru gets alerted by Sarada like, hey, Ada is right where you're at, dude. Be on guard. Konohamaru starts walking up the steps, but once that happens, the man is done. We get this really nice half-page shot where you see Ada. Very good idea to have the panel done this way because you really get to see the emphasis on her legs. Like, I like this right here, but the fact is that that was actually a nice panel shot right there. A half-page spread for that part. Now, the thing about this is that when Kawaki sees her, Kawaki's like, she ain't all that. However, Konohamaru falls right into simp mode. Now, I'm seeing a few people saying like, why does Konohamaru get so worked up? Here's the thing that you got to remember. Konohamaru is as big of a pervert as Naruto was. When Naruto was looking at all those magazines and everything in part 1, Konohamaru was looking at them right with him. And Konohamaru was younger than Naruto, looking at whole booty cheeks and boobies popping up out of the place when Naruto was looking at the dirty magazines. Konohamaru was sitting there making sexy jutsu with whole nipples showing, which, side note, that was censored in the anime. Now, normally I would show something like that. However, YouTube will automatically demonetize the video, so we ain't doing that one. He's the third Hokage's grandson. The third Hokage was a bit of a pervert too. So are we really that surprised that Konohamaru gets so worked up that the guy looks like he's about to have a nosebleed and he's falling back over and the guy's drooling after seeing Ada? I'm not. I think from a comedy aspect, that actually works right there. The only thing on this is from a comedy aspect, in order for this to really land, I think the expression should have been a little bit more over the top, but seeing the small details like the eyes straining and everything, that was actually a nice touch. Ikimoto's expressions are improving a bit. If you're going to continue to have comedy sprinkled into the manga, those expressions are going to have to keep improving. This is improvement, so I'm not bashing it, but things like eyes, mouth, even the nose, when you start doing comedy elements, all that's really got to land. Going into the next part though, as everybody is simping over Ada, where you got Chocho and Mitsuki and they're all simping over, essentially Sarada again doubles down and she says, the only reason why we're not under her spell right now is because we didn't get a good look at her. And that's when Moegi shows up and Moegi's pulling on Inojin and Chocho by the ears, which again, that goes back to the comedy aspect. Really think some of the expressions on that should have been done a little bit better. That is a critique. However, I will say the lead up to that was actually well done. And what you essentially get is that Moegi's like, hey, I'll get these kids out of here because they weren't even supposed to be here to begin with. However, I'm a little worried about Konohamaru. I hope he's not doing anything that's going to be perverted. And it's like Moegi even knows knows what some of the fandom forgot, which is that Konohamaru's a pervert. And I like how you get Konohamaru and he's trying to calm himself down, basically going like the horny meme where you got like the horny bonk and everything. He's trying to get himself under control. But when he looks up at Ada at the bottom from the stairwell, and Ada turns and looks over the shoulders and she's looking at Konohamaru and she says, "Konohamaru-chan, it's like meeting an old childhood friend. The man's done." But on the real though, that brings into question again Ada's age, because she can only see up until the moment of her birth. And she's got her Senrigan on when she's saying that, implying that she's looking either in the present or in the past. But you do have her calling Konohamaru little Konohamaru right before calling him a childhood friend, which means that she can see back into Konohamaru's childhood. Ada, at a bare minimum, is the same age as Konohamaru, because she can only look back in the past up to the moment of her birth. Konohamaru's 28, which means that if this is what's going on, Kishimoto said, well, Fujimoto can't be the only person that has a grown woman showing interest in a high schooler, which, as a reminder, Fujimoto is the mangaka for Chainsaw Man. Though, I mean, that's still nothing par for the course of Kishimoto. We've seen that in the past where he used Mei and Sasuke's interactions with sexual undertones, from the jutsu to some of her mannerisms to how Karin was calling Mei an old hag for hitting on Sasuke. So this ain't nothing new here if we end up going this route, which if that ends up being the case, that's just another parallel between Makima and Ada. Grown women showing a little bit of attraction to younger men and ultimately trying to manipulate the younger man. I think that that is something that is being set up here with Ada. And I mean, I'm fine with it. I think from a storytelling aspect, it works. But getting back to the chapter and this scene in particular, part of the reason why I like what we got here is some of these gags really feel like something that you would have seen in Naruto's manga when you look at the humor. We're just missing the expressiveness. The next thing I'll say too is that when Boruto realizes what's happening to Konohamaru, he and Kawaki get over there, and essentially Boruto's immediately trying to start the mission. He's like, Ada, you should come over here and we should talk. However, once this happens, what Boruto sees is that Daemon's there, and Boruto's looking. He's like, wait a second, who are you? What are you doing? And then we get a good shot where everything switches to Daemon looking over at Boruto, and Daemon says like, yo, I'm some bastard named Daemon. You're Boruto Uzumaki. I'm Ada's little brother. And you can tell right here, Daemon's like, I'm ready to start kicking some ass. And we see how quickly things escalate, because what you see in this chapter is that you have somebody who's passive aggressive in Ada. You have Boruto, Kawaki, and Daemon, three hot-headed characters, and three characters who are very strongly willed. And Daemon is poking the fire because he knows he can beat all of them. He says, if you get on my bad side, if you piss me off, if I think you're going after my sister, I'll just kill all of you. And Boruto and Kawaki have too much pride to hear something like that and not challenge it. And what you get here in the importance of this battle is that when you look at how Daemon was fighting against Code, he was hitting Code with harder blows. And when he fought against Boruto and Kawaki, Daemon was clearly holding back, and Daemon knocked both of them unconscious, which from a narrative perspective, that's just Kishimoto's way of just showing that Naruto's concern that they had no chance against Code, it was warranted, because Naruto fought against Jigen. He knows that Code is stronger than Jigen, and he's seen firsthand how strong Boruto and Kawaki are when they're utilizing their Otsutsuki powers. And for him to make that determination that they can't beat Code, it lets you know about where these characters scale at. So this was needed. Now, the next thing that we see here is that right before the fighting starts, Ada hears Kawaki's voice, and you know, Ada, she's doing her typical fangirl thing. Kawaki sees Ada, not really paying any attention. However, the thing about this is that when Daemon starts doing all of his trash talk, that's when it really gets on Kawaki's skin. Kawaki immediately lunges forward. He transforms his arm into that ninja weapon tech blade. He tries to attack Daemon, and when this happens, because Daemon is touching Boruto, the attack reflects. When he and Kawaki fight, the man is just toying around with the man. I like Daemon's energy. He's on demon time. We gotta call Daemon when he's on demon time. We gotta just say that's Daemon time, because he's walking right up to Kawaki and he's like, yeah, I guess I cheated, didn't I? Well, don't worry, I'll give you a handicap. If you want to fight me, come right at me, bro. I won't use any of my powers. We'll just go straight up man to man. And when Kawaki tries to fight him, Daemon is just knocking this dude around. He sends him flying across the room. room. He does it with no difficulty, and then that's when Boruto's like, dude, okay, I've had enough. I'm breaking this up. Boruto charges forward, and Daemon just dog walks Boruto. Now, while I get why Daemon did this, because he's just letting Boruto and Kawaki know, don't piss me off, don't try anything funny because you guys don't stand a chance. I think we need to keep our eyes on Ada, because Ada was already reluctant to allow Daemon to come out that chamber. And just as I was saying a year in advance, hey, Ada's gonna turn on code, I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. I think Ada is gonna be willing to take her night off the board if she can do something to win over Kawaki. Right now, Kawaki can't beat Daemon, but if Daemon looks like he might jeopardize her chance with Kawaki, I wouldn't be surprised if Ada had a way to eliminate Daemon, because the boy is uncontrollable. And when Kawaki wakes up from getting his ass beat and she sees how Daemon is continuing to just talk shit and smile, and she sees the reactions that Boruto and Kawaki are getting, she doesn't look pleased. So the one good thing you have about this is that there's a few different routes that we can take in terms of conflict. The only thing we need now is an anchor if you're going to make this Horny House arc work. To use examples of what I mean, like if you go for Search of Tsunade arc, one of the anchors was Naruto's Rasengan training and how each step that Naruto finished with the Rasengan, there was a new development. Or the Tenchi Bridge arc where Naruto's over-reliance on the Nine Tails and the recklessness and that fear of that power was an anchor for that arc. We need an anchor here. And based off what we've seen, it looks like one thing that it might be playing with is trying to use that specter of Momoshiki taking control of Boruto's body as being that anchor, and Kawaki seeing Momoshiki in a way that even Boruto isn't seeing him. But if that ends up being the case, we're seeing some seeds of it just based off of Kawaki's reaction to Boruto. The next thing here is going to be, can Ada see that? Because in the past, she wasn't able to see Momoshiki when he interacted with Boruto, but that was when Momoshiki froze time. Momoshiki was manifested outside of Boruto in a way to where even Kawaki could see it, and everything was still happening in real time. So I'm going to be very curious here. There are conflict seeds planted in this chapter, and the way that the tension is broken is it's done both by humor, when you have Daemon looking over at Kawaki when he wakes up and saying like, yo, my big sister's legs feel pretty good, don't they? Which, yo, again, as a leg person, I'm all for that. But then on the other side too, though, when Boruto comes to, you have this moment where Daemon is just smirking over at this dude as he's trying to explain what happened to Shikamaru, while leaving out the fact that Daemon just beat the brakes off of both of them. And the way that Daemon's got that shit-eating grin on his face, you know that Daemon's going to be a little shit starter. And again, it's going to be interesting to see Ada's reaction. But all that's a good segue to actually setting up the end of the chapter itself, where you have Shikamaru revealing that he's speaking with Amado, and Naruto's telling Amado it's time for you to stop all the games, cut all the bullshit, tell me everything I want to know. And I like that we're seeing this sterner side with Naruto now. And Amado says, I'll tell you everything, just give me cigarettes. The only question though is because of how Amado likes to use the art of selective honesty, and him getting those cigarettes could be a good way for him to pause and buy time as he figures out which half truths he's going to say. Now granted, Amado could have thought up a whole story on his way there, but this is going to be interesting. Naruto has a lot riding on this, because he's told the Kages and he's seeing what the Kages warned him about, which is that Naruto's like, I don't trust Amado. But now when you look at everything Amado's done, he's put his son in jeopardy and he's taken advantage of his adopted son, and Amado has a lot of leverage right now. So it's gonna be interesting to see Naruto's reaction to that shutdown sequence Amado has. Now my chapter question to you guys is, what do you guys think Amado is going to reveal in the next chapter? And also, how do you guys feel about the fact that it looks like we're having seeds being planted once again for there to be friction between Ada and Daemon being able to take out Boruto and Kawaki? I think the friction with Ada and Daemon, like the code situation, it was already something foreshadowed, but I want to know you guys' thoughts on that. While you think that over, click here to watch this video from Naruto Explained, and click here to watch this video from KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN.